Well, Mark Jackson had an interesting comment a month ago, and Mark Jackson, of course, coached Steph, and I do think Rob
and gave him the green light.
Right, I think he had a lot to do with Steph and Clay becoming what I think is the greatest backcourt ever, because he showed so much confidence in both of those guys who really weren't very highly touted, coming into the league. I mean, they were lottery picks, but nobody expected something like this. But here's what he said about Steph about a month ago.
Because I said, Steph Curry's ruined the game.
Yeah.
People thought I was taking a shot at Steph Curry,
right.
and I'm glad I had a chance to, explain it to him, because I'm foolish enough to believe, well, everybody get what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Basically, what you just said
right.
was a remixed version of it.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm going to youth games. My kids was younger. I'm going to their games, and kids are jacking up shots like they Steph Curry out of. Those are horrible shots.
Right.
and the first thing they do, they come off the bench and they shooting shots, and instead of making a move going to the cup, they're shooting heaves from half court. I'm like, this is awful basketball. This guy has a gift, and he has the ability to make that shot.
Right.
That's like me. I'd be ruining the game if I go and take that shot.
Right.
I'm not Steph Curry.
Right.
And I should not try to be Steph Curry. I should try to be the best player that I could possibly be. And people were thinking it because he made it look so easy that they could do it. They lied to themselves.
That makes sense, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I've said that. I think Steph has ruined the game from that standpoint, that everybody wants to shoot threes. And that's the part of the game that, yes, when you talk about him changing it, even though, Chris, that's European basketball too. That was a lot of the guys, the big guys, Darko and those people out there,
right?
Who played basketball. Yes, they all did that, Chris. You know what I mean? Like that's a part of European basketball. Even 7-footers are out on a perimeter. Larry Brown hated it when Darko was. You know what I mean?
Well, Rob, quickly, I don't want to stop your train of thought, but remember when we started getting beat in international competition in the early 2000s? It was because Lithuania and Yugoslavia, Croatia, all these places, they were shooting threes,
right?
And they knew they couldn't compete with us athletically, or just in
bang,
many other
right.
elements, right? But if they're getting 3 and we're getting 2, then they're going to have a shot. And that's what was happening.
Yeah, no. That's definite. And Mark Jackson's point is spot on. And it's not a rip job, but it's just like it made everybody believe that they could do it too. And we've seen everybody's not a great 3-point shooter. And sometimes you need to go no, that's take a step or two in, Chris, and make a shot. Can you do that?
Here's my only pushback, because I agree with Mark's sentiment and I agree with yours. But it does, and Mark acknowledged it, Rob, it sounds like a rip job. And you can say it in a way where it's not Steph Curry ruined the game of basketball. It's, look, these kids are trying to follow in Steph Curry's footsteps, and they're not him. Because, Rob, you know this. People said the same thing about Michael Jordan. Not with the 3, but that, everybody wants to play ISO now. Everybody wants to go one-on-one and be athletic and, fly through the air. And that was true. And people were saying that ruined the game, right? Too much ISO ball. When you have great players, like once-in-a-generation type talents, it's inevitable. They can do things that not only the rest of us can't do, but that the rest of the great world-class athletes in their sport can't do. And Muhammad Ali, Rob, arguably the greatest fighter ever, right? A lot of his fundamentals were poor, right? He pulled his head back when they took a punch at him.
How about
You're
when
not
he kept
supposed
his
to do
hands
that.
down when he was fighting?
Right, he kept his hands down. He didn't really go to the body. All of that was bad fundamentals, but he could do it because he was so athletic and skilled and gifted. But if you go out there, other fighters try to keep their hands down, they get knocked out.
They'll get knocked out.
Right?
I used to be amazed by that. Like, he didn't protect his face or keep
right.
It was amazing.
It was and Rob, so that's my point, is that even with LeBron came into the league, he was ball dominant, he was the system. And now if you go watch AAU, you see a lot of guys at high school level, AAU, whatever, they're ball dominant. They're the system. And so it's not LeBron's fault. It's not Jordan's fault. It's not Ali's fault. It's not Steph's fault. It's actually the fault of, I don't even know if it's avoidable, right? Like, can you blame young kids for wanting to play like they're idols? Right, now, but if coaches got to be able to coach them right.
Yeah, but that's the issue, and I agree with you. But I've been at some youth games, and I'm like Mark. I told you I went to LaMelo Ball's game, Chris, like a game here, and him and his brother
they cherry picked, didn't they?
They cherry picked. They threw up. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that was a high school team.
Right.
The coach, like LaMelo was at half court. He would just stand there like the other guys are playing on defense. They would get the rebound, chuck it up to him, and he would step over half court and just shoot it.
It's amazing how he's become such a really good player.
He was so undisciplined and didn't play basketball. It was amazing, and I just shook my head at it. But it goes on. It goes on, and the coaches can't do anything. If you remember, they got rid of that coach, even though he let LaMelo and them do whatever they wanted, and they still weren't happy with it.
Well, that's the thing. Now, let's just face it, coaches aren't empowered. AAU is arguably more important than high school basketball, right?
High school basketball is not even the same, Chris. Not close.
And here's the thing with AAU. Let's say you're a great player, Rob, and I'm your coach. If I try to coach you, like I bench you for taking bad shots, I bench you for not passing the ball or not playing D, you're going down the street to play for the next team, and now you're kicking my butt in my team. Or I'm not linked up to you anymore where maybe I can
you can't do anything.
Maybe I can, help myself come up on your heels, You get a scholarship, maybe I can get a better coaching job somewhere. You know what I mean? And so these kids, they aren't getting coached like they used to. They're working with personal trainers more than ever.
Yeah, but they're not being coached here.
No.